Both dogs and cats can thrive on a plant-based diet. Cats, interestingly, digest the plant-based proteins even better than dogs. Animals, like humans, they have a mind, body, and spirit. And Ayurveda recognizes this, that all living beings actually do have a mind, body, and spirit.
Hello and welcome to North Star by Vegan First, the world's most interesting podcast for all things plant based. In this series, we'll have some deep conversations with experts from the vegan space, right from athletes to activists, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more. So stay tuned for lots of exciting episodes. In the first episode of North Star, we have with us a very interesting person who's left a lucrative job in the Silicon Valley and took the Ayurveda route while also turning an animal advocate. Hetal Sheth founded her vegan Ayurvedic dog food brand Curry and Pepper in California in 2014. She helped in transitioning several pets to a plant based Ayurvedic lifestyle. So, firstly, very warm welcome, Hetal.
Thank you, Sarmishta, for having me on the North Star show. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's begin by addressing the elephant in the room first. Can dogs, pets actually thrive on a plant based diet?
Absolutely, both dogs and cats can thrive on a plant-based diet. And research actually shows that dogs and cats on plant-based diets actually are able to absorb the proteins and the nutrition that is required in a well-formulated balanced diet, just as much as like if they were raw-fed or another meat-based diet. Cats, interestingly, digest the plant-based proteins even better than dogs. So even though they're obligate carnivores, they kind of have the ability to digest. And likewise, dogs, so they've evolved over time. They've not only gone through physical changes, but they've also gone through GI related changes. They've also gone through genetic changes to be able to digest plant-based matter. And there have been like several research studies that was done. And the most recent one that was done like in Barcelona, Spain, where they evaluated skeletons of dogs from Bronze Age and Stone Age. And interestingly, they found that a lot of those dogs actually ate plant-based matter. So they were pretty much herbivores. Yeah, so, and all of these links can actually be found on our events section where we have a webinar. So you can find like anybody's interested in researching more and reading more about these researchers, they can actually go look at it over there.
That's amazing. That's lovely to know. But Hetal, the general perception is that plant based Ayurveda and pet food don't go hand in hand. So, how did you even think of starting a vegan Ayurvedic dog food brand?
So basically, this was a journey that I started with my dogs, Curry and Brownie, and Pepper was a rescue that we had met. So basically, Curry had a lot of GI issues. She had grade 1 heart murmur, and she also had like parasite issues, and she had a very sensitive tummy, basically. And Brownie was very sensitive to environmental factors, and so he kind of used to have skin issues which manifested because of stress in the environment or like changes in the season. So those kind of things, basically, we tried a few different medical routes, like veterinary routes, and we got no relief from it. And then I was like, we do Ayurveda for ourselves. Why not try this on the dogs? Everything changed. So all of their issues actually began to gradually resolve, and they were gone. They were gone for good, basically. Animals, like humans, they have a mind, body, and spirit. And Ayurveda recognizes this, that all living beings, not just like animals, but all living beings actually do have a mind, body, and spirit. And so when you kind of cater to their needs based in aligning these three elements, that's when you actually achieve health. So it's more a preventive care approach as opposed to like treating or healing after disease happens. So focusing on prevention is our goal, basically.
So, canine nutritionists across the world insist on a huge amount of meat in dog food. So, how do pet parents counter this with data and science?
Dogs are more allergic to meat-based sources than other sources, and the top allergens were basically beef and dairy. So now a lot of nutritionists are actually opening up to plant-based diets, especially in the US and the UK. And there was another research, actually a few different researches that were done, that actually plant-based diet ends up improving lifespan on dogs by 18 months on an average, compared to a meat-based diet, which kind of tells, right, like unless it's something doing good in the body, you're not going to get that benefit. Another study actually revealed that dogs on plant-based diets are pretty much as healthy as dogs on a meat-based diet. So this study was actually done on in the UK on sprint racing dogs. So these are like high energy, highly active dogs, and they were put on a plant-based diet. And that study revealed that they kind of were able to perform just as well. There were no significant changes as compared to like a meat-based diet. Their gut microbiome and their genetic encoding has changed to digest plant matter, just like the giant panda. That's a carnivore but eats bamboo mainly.
Amazing. I mean, especially for a lot of vegans, they still feed meat to their dogs or cats because they're not sure if, their pets will actually survive on plants.
The biggest thing is there's a process called bioaccumulation. So there was a recent study that was done on dolphins actually, and dolphins end up having Alzheimer's disease because of the arsenic content that they're consuming from the ocean by eating the smaller fishes, which eat other matters. So the heavy metals and things like that, they build up rapidly when you go through the food chain. So the predator that is on the top of the food chain is consuming all of the heavy metals that are built up in these animals as they consume the products. And so it just sits in the body. Like they haven't evolved to be able to flush out the modern day chemicals that are ingested through pesticides and stuff. So if they end up eating a plant-based diet, you're significantly cutting down that bioaccumulation. So the body is able to cope up better, actually.
Hetal, can you now throw some light on why kibbles and packaged foods is actually bad for our pets?
Sure. So there are two major categories right now in the commercial food. You have the kibble, and then you have the packaged wet food, which comes in cans or like pouches, right? So kibble is actually made through a process called extrusion, where the ingredients, and this applies for both meat-based as well as plant-based kibble, it goes through a processing of high heat. And the ingredients, especially like with meat-based ingredients, you have like a lot of the 4D, or like basically it's rendered meat that is used in processing the kibble, even in the relatively premium kibbles. And in plant-based, they kind of use the raw ingredients that basically actually goes through the extrusion process. So the plants have something that's called anti-nutrients, which is like lectins and phytates, which may not be broken down well. And so when they put through this high extrusion, the food is actually, according to Ayurveda, the food is absorbing that heat. And it's extremely drying in nature. So if you look at these bags that are sitting in pet stores at the shelf for like a year, 2 years, so to kind of give them that shelf life, they have to add a lot of additives and preservatives. And then at the end of the process, they add something that is called as, like in meat-based kibbles, they add what is called as digest, which is basically extracts from fish that they kind of add for flavoring. And in plant-based kibble, they actually add certain oils, basically like canola oil or stuff like that, to kind of make it more palatable, because in the whole process, it's become extremely dry, right? So it has a lot of artificial ingredients, and it's extremely processed. So when your dog or cat ends up consuming the kibble, it actually increases the fire in their body, the fire element or the pitta element. So when you have a high pitta, basically it speeds up the whole aging process. It dries up all the fluids, if you will, like according to the Ayurvedic philosophy, the water element in the body. So you kind of eventually start seeing a lot of other disease manifest because of the extreme pitta in the body. Likewise with wet food, it's a little better than the kibble. but it is again highly processed. It has a lot of preservatives in it as well, and it goes through high temperatures as well. Especially what comes in like little pouches, right? Like those go through something that's called retort processing. So that is the food is put in high heat chambers to basically cook it, and then it kind of goes through the sealing process. So a lot of the nutrition kind of gets destroyed as there as well. So they have to supplement it with additional supplements to make it balanced and complete. So now the challenge with plant-based foods is, I don't know how many of these companies actually go through the proper processing of the plant-based ingredients to remove the phytates and lectins or the anti-nutrients to make it digestible, because the plant-based food has to be well cooked for easy absorption for the dogs. So if you kind of buy a package of one of the plant-based packaged food, what you will see is some of the ingredients are kind of still hard, which are not as well cooked. So there is that bit of a challenge in there as well. So sometimes you may see when they consume, they kind of get gassy and stuff. So fresh is like the best, because one, you can select the ingredients that go in the food, so you know exactly what's going in. You make it balanced by adding the right supplements, and then you can customize it and cater it to your dog's unique needs. They're individuals like us. They have unique needs. Your dog might have allergies or certain health issues. So you can pick the right ingredients and create a diet that is specific to their mind and body needs. That kind of aligns all the three elements, basically the mind, body, and spirit, and promotes wellness. So fresh foods definitely promote a lot of health and wellness.
We all know that pets are super fussy eaters, right? I mean, most of them don't even touch their food unless there's meat in it. So, do your products contain any flavorings or additives that actually add to the taste of these foods, and like that can help them eat better?
So all of our products, like the dosha balancers as well as the meal balancers, they're kind of formulated in a way to help encourage or help your dog learn to eat the ingredients naturally. Because if you just take a step back and think about it, when the dogs were in the wild, when they had problems, when they had like tummy issues or anything like that, they had no vets out there to help them. So they would seek out herbs naturally and just kind of eat them. Somehow that ability has been lost with modernization. So our philosophy is basically we want to keep things as natural as possible. So we do not add any artificial flavors or preservatives or any additional flavoring to encourage the dog to kind of eat. So there is a typical process that I kind of work with when I help pet parents transition their dogs to a plant-based diet. So there are a few different factors that goes in understanding what is the dog's preferences in terms of like the amount of fat, amount of protein, what texture they like, and then use and what tastes they prefer. So using this, we kind of then figure out like the diet plan and create a meal based on that. And interestingly, when a meal is well balanced, the dogs can smell that it is complete, that all the all amino acids exist. So they will be drawn to it. So again, the key is to having a balanced meal. But yeah, if you do have like really fussy eaters and you're encouraging them to kind of move to a plant-based diet, there are certain herbs like parsley, cilantro, which is coriander here, that you can use kind of for flavoring to help them encourage eat, or just do a light tadka, like because a lot of dogs I see here in India are used to eating like roti dal chawal kind of a thing. So if you do a light tadka with like a little bit of curry leaves and then cumin seeds, it kind of helps enhance the flavor.
Right. So, how exactly can your products be used? And like, can you explain what kind of products exactly Curry and Pepper offers?
So right now we have two key product lines. One is basically helping pet parents make a balanced, AFCO balanced meal at home. And then we have our line of Ayurvedic herbal herbs, basically, that is created based on the dog's mind body type. So every dog has a dominant dosha, which is basically a principal energy that defines their personality, that determines their physique, the body type, and their metabolism. So there are certain herbs that actually work well, keeping these in mind. So when these are taken on a regular basis, you can actually prevent disease, basically. So with the meal balancer, which is the key, right? Like a lot of pet parents feed home cooked meals. And when they feed home cooked meals, I think a lot of them are not even aware that they don't have complete nutrition in there. So you have to balance the amino acid profile, the calcium and phosphorus and things like that. So that's what the meal balancer allows you to do. So we've done all the hard work. So we've created the recipes. So you can just follow those recipes at home and then add the meal balancer based on your dog's body weight, and kind of make a complete, fresh, balanced meal at home. So that kind of really simplifies and takes out, like, you don't have to be a canine nutritionist now to be able to feed your dog a balanced meal. We kind of take care of doing that through the Korean pepper meal balancer.
Right. So, how do they get to know what Ayurvedic dosha their dog has through this quiz?
Yeah, so the online quiz is really simple. It kind of goes through a few questions that basically is asking to get to know your dog more, like what is the temperament, what is their mind state, what is their physical body state, what is their metabolism like. So based on that, it actually tells you like whether your dog is a Vata, which is an air dog, or a Pitta, or a fire dog, or an earth dog. So generally, all dogs have these three energies in them, just like humans, but usually one of them tends to be dominant as the seasons change, environmental factors, what they're eating. So it's kind of trying to restore their natural balance when you kind of opt for a mind body diet, basically.
So, Hetal, a lot of people in India still believe that just dal, chawal, roti, sabzi is adequate for their dogs. So, how do we counter this and raise awareness on better nutrition for dogs?
Sure. So, dal chawal and roti sabzi, or these are not like completely balanced meals. So, dogs have very specific nutrient requirements, which is very different from humans. So, they have like a higher protein requirement, up to 20 to 25% of their meal has to be protein, and this protein has to have a complete range of amino acids. So, they require 10 essential amino acids, because these 10 essential amino acids, it's not something that their body produces. It has to come through diet. So when you're just doing dal chawal or roti sabzi, you're not getting these 10 essential amino acids in the diet. And additionally, you also want to be able to supplement the diet with taurine or carnitine to be able to support their heart function. While if they have the 10 amino acids, the body is able to generate taurine. But research has found that additional supplementation of taurine is actually beneficial for heart health. This is how we were able to actually reverse Curry's grade 1 heart murmur when we switched her over to a plant-based diet. So definitely, dal chawal and roti is not a balanced diet. So if you're doing home cooking, it is very essential that you feed a well balanced meal. And you can actually find some of these recipes on our website as well, which kind of includes the meal balance. So that needs to be added in the right amounts to create that balance. Because when they don't get the required nutrition, that's when disease is going to happen. So I see a lot of dogs who are very have mobility issues at a very early age. They have like skin problems. So, like for example, if you're not getting the right amount of zinc, selenium, etc., you will see skin issues. If you're not getting the right amounts of amino acids, you will see muscle loss. So there is basically a direct correlation. Like us, they are what they eat. So a balanced diet is very important.
Right, right. And Hetal, I'm sure a lot of dog parents would want to know, is there any precautions they need to follow or tips that you can give, with which they can maybe extend their, if not extend, maybe, help their dogs live their full lifespan?
The first thing and the best thing that you can do for your dog is provide them the right nutrition. And if you can provide like fresh foods, there's nothing like it, because the bioavailability of fresh foods is way higher than other processed or packaged foods. Just do like, it's very simple to just whatever seasonal vegetables you get, which your dog safe, of course, you can just add those. And likewise, you can do that with the fruits as well. And fruits are best given in between meals. I don't recommend adding fruits into the dog's meal, because the digestibility of both those ingredients is different. So,
Also, Hetal, how exactly does Ayurveda work for animals in general? Like, what's the application like?
That's a great question. So, like I mentioned earlier, all living beings are basically governed by the principles of Ayurveda or the three doshas, which are like nothing but principal energies. So, for instance, Vata basically governs the mind. So, which kind of determines the personality to some degree. The Pitta governs metabolism, so transformation. So, whatever food we intake, how that is absorbed in our body, and how our bodily functions occur. So that is basically governed by Pitta or the fire. And then we have the earth element, which basically is a combination of water and earth. So that basically makes sure that the body is functioning well. It defines the bones and joints, the structure of the body. It makes sure that there is adequate fluid like the cartilage and things like in your body that keeps mobility going on. So these aspects govern different aspects of the mind, body, and spirit. So when these three combine, that's when you have an individual. But when either one is off or imbalanced, that's when disease starts occurring. So, for example, when Vata is imbalanced, you will see things like anxiety, fear in dogs. They will have poor appetite, rough, dry skin. When dogs have an imbalance of the fire, you will see there will be absorption issues, metabolism issues, like basically things like where they're having diarrhea or like aggression. And likewise, when kapha is off, you will see things like weight obesity will be a typical issue when the kapha is imbalanced, or they tend to be very lazy and possessive dogs. Even though they like eat a lot, their body is not absorbing nutrition. So there is basically a lot of science behind all of these things. So when you kind of Ayurveda is basically the philosophy is built around prevention is better than cure. So when you kind of maintain a good lifestyle where you're trying to keep these in balance through diet, exercise, and emotional health, you actually create well-being in your animals.
And do the same principles apply for cats as well?
Absolutely, all animals actually. Yeah.
Great. Hetal, we're curious. How did you even turn to Ayurveda in the first place? What's the story behind it, and why curry and pepper, the name of your brand?
Yeah, we get that a lot. So the name is actually after my dogs, Curry and Pepper, because when we adopted them, we met dogs, a lot of dogs named on food, but we never came across a dog with Indian names. So that's where we picked Curry, and then Pepper was the rescue that we were working with. So we had Curry, so we had to have Pepper. And so basically, like I mentioned earlier, it was my dog's journey towards a holistic lifestyle for their health that I kind of began. And that's what led me into kind of delving into this much deeper and studying this further in terms of being able to heal animals naturally in a more non-invasive way. So that's what led me into kind of learning more about like Ayurveda for animals. So this is something that's existed in our country for centuries. And it's like it's not something new. It's something that's been practiced for over 6,000 years. And in fact, the first veterinary hospital was actually built in India around the time of King Ashoka. So that was the first hospital in the world. And while the practice has remained for farm animals, it has disappeared for smaller pet animals, basically. So my goal was to be able to revive and bring that back because it changed my dogs' lives and it changed the lives of many other dogs that I have worked with. So my goal is to be able to help people learn more about this and be more educated about the choices that they make for their pets.
And how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about Ayurvedic plant-based nutrition for pets?
Absolutely. So, if people have questions or they just want to kind of learn more about if it's right for their dogs, they can actually get in touch with us through our website curryandpepper.com. We're currently offering a free 20-minute lifestyle and nutritional assessment that actually will go through and assess where your dog is at currently and help you build a path on where you want them to be next. So we also do diet charts for dogs at the moment, not for cats. We also do flower healing, like you mentioned earlier, which is a very non-invasive energetic healing that is done for healing a lot of health issues that dogs have. Basically, it's through flower, and specifically Indian flower remedies, and then plant stem cell therapy to help kind of resolve some issues. So you can always also reach us through email at bark@curryandpepper.com, or just message us through our website and Instagram.
Great, great. That is such an insightful conversation, Hetal, and I'm sure a lot of us learned so much about basic nutrition for our pets and what's very much required for them. So thank you so much for joining us today, and it was such a pleasure to have you here.
It's been great on this show. I think this is a great way to help educate people as well. So thank you so much for having me here and helping spread the word.
All right, so now let's take a picture for our non-star Hall of Fame. Signing off with lots of sustainable love. We'll see you in the next episode. Till then, take care and bye-bye to you and all your furry friends sitting next to you. Don't forget to subscribe to Vegan First and like, share and leave your comments below.